When a lady tells me I want to study engineering, I would tell her why, like especially if it's civil engineer. So I think now this is like old thoughts or old mentality, but I still believe there is a lot of stereotype about women working as engineers or civil engineers. What's your take on that? How do you feel it now? Because now I believe you're working as an engineer.
Yes. The stereotype still exists. I'm with you. Maybe before more than now. I mean, when I first entered engineering, and specifically civil engineering, a lot of people did come and tell me like, why? What are you going to work as? I feel like now the industry itself are not envisioning that. It's just like mentalities outside the industry itself.
Mindsets.
Yeah, exactly. They're just mindsets. Companies in general, engineering industries, they view everyone as equal. So as long as you have the potential and the ambition to work at it, nothing. They won't give you.
They're welcoming.
Yeah, they're welcoming. Yeah, they're welcoming it with big hands. They don't envision anything different.
So you don't feel well in your job right now? You're working as what? As transport engineer?
Yes.
Okay, what is a transport engineer? Just so for me and the people who don't know what's a transport engineer.
Okay, so transport engineers or transport planners, usually they look at the city as from a transportation aspect. Okay. So how to strategize a city to enhance transportation, how not specific to roads, it would also be into walking and cycling aspects as well, not specific to cars and just driving.
Okay.
So with that, that's what we look at as a whole in a city, as a master plan, how to enhance the whole aspect of movement rather than just taking a road from here to there.
Okay.
So there's different
for the pedestrians, for the cars,
yes.
for the
public transportation,
for everything.
Exactly.
Okay. Interesting.
That's one aspect of transportation planning. There's a whole new aspect which is the intelligent transportation systems, which are being widely common these days. All cities are expected to enhance their existing systems right now to be more intelligent. So these are the aspects of what I do.
Okay.
At my work, for me, even when I first started applying for jobs, I didn't think that anyone is going to view it differently. They will look at my potential, see what I'm capable of. They would question me, I would answer everything. As long as we have the same understanding and that's what they're looking for, then...
so you didn't feel like a certain... in your interviews you were doing, you didn't feel any certain gaps or any sort of from the people you were interviewing you or anybody like why or anything? You didn't feel that? Okay,
nothing,
which means that things are going the right way right now.
Yes.
But when you say like intelligent and like smart cities and all that, so for instance, can you give us an example? Let's say a pedestrian walk, or how can you improve that in a way that is like innovative or smart, or give us like a small thing that we can understand, whether here or anywhere. How do you...
Okay. So for example, in a smart transportation or intelligent transportation, few of the things, for example, whether it's the pedestrian crossings, as you mentioned. So the pole of the traffic light, the traffic light itself, it would sense that, okay, so now there is a pedestrian that wants to cross. Without actually pressing
the button.
Exactly. It would sense that from
there
the sensors
existing
and they want to cross the road. So it would automatically, with the right aspects of course, they would stop the road movement and they would allow the pedestrian to cross. So this will cause less delay time for the pedestrian to cross, and that's as well to enhance walking and cycling within the city. So when you develop that as one aspect, I'm just giving an example.
And it's convenient for different people at different ages. Let's say if there is a kid who cannot touch that, let's say there is somebody, for instance, a physically challenged. Let's say if there is an elderly person someone who has, let's say, so it helps in different aspects, and that's a small example, but I believe it helps in different aspects. Okay.
So such sort of things can help whether someone is walking or using like e-scooters now or cycles, as I mentioned, to get to places.
And does your job, are you on the, let's say, the creative innovative side? Are you on the practicality side of the? Where
we're
are
both.
you?
We want.
What do you on your?
It comes like as a package.
Okay.
It comes as a package. So basically, there are a lot of innovations that are happening in the world. However, some cities or they have a different vision to their city.
Okay.
So not everything that's innovative is going to work in different places. So it depends what does the city want to do.
And how many people, let's say, work in your department? You know, or
we have different branches. So for example, for me, we're around 11 to 12 people.
Okay.
With different capabilities, of course, but we're a whole team.
Okay.
In my team.
And does it work that in the sense that when a concept comes, that you try to implement it and see which cities or which countries that work, or each country is based on its own requirements or own thing? And if you got a creative or a crazy idea that works somewhere, do you try to implement it in other cities and other areas of the world?
Depending on the conditions.
Okay.
So there are cities in the whole world that they have specific aspects.
Okay.
So for example, we can't implement something that's happening in Iceland somewhere here. They're two different. That they do a lot of amazing things. Of course, we can take the idea of what did they do, see how it could be implemented, but specific to that, it's not. That's why exactly. Okay. That's why benchmarking is very important.
Okay. Going back to women in this industry, do you see a lot of women as civil engineers and engineering generally?
Yes.
Do you meet them? Do you see them? I mean, is it growing? How often are you?
For example, right now, I feel like at my time, it is growing.
It is growing.
When we first got hired, we were like a batch of people. We were 50-50, for example.
Okay.
And it was a must to implement 50% male and 50% female.
Okay. Going back to university, for instance, in the classrooms, how many were, let's say?
Oh no, it was a different. We were like 5% of the whole class.
It was a male dominant aspect.
Yes, and you can visualize it. Usually they would, because we're like 5 girls.
So you're the odd ones.
Yes.
In a way.
Yes.
Okay.
So you would see, for example, in a 60, I actually had that, like in a 60 student class, there would be 5. Myself,
there would be 5.
Yes, myself and like 4 more.
Is it the same? This was how many years ago when you were in university?
So I graduated 3 years ago. So these classes were like then from before, from 2017.
Okay, and now do you know it's different or it's still the same in the
I feel like it's growing.
It's growing.
Yes.
It will take time, until it actually becomes 50-50.
Exactly.
But at least we know there's signs that it's already going up.
Yes.
And we don't want to speak much about the males and female in that aspect. What would you say, مثلا, to girls who want to study engineering? But again, there is still, change takes time. So when a girl wants to study this, but then she has all these pressure from family or from friends or from relatives or whatever it is that don't study engineering. What would you advise these girls?
I feel like if it's something you want to do, nothing should stop you. I had my fair share of that. I did hear people telling me civil engineering is not a female job. It's so hard to even find a job. But as long as I wanted to do it, and
so hard to find a job, you mean generally?
Generally,
yes,
after my studies.
Okay.
So what's the point of spending my years studying something that I know I can't implement, can't move forward with?
Okay.
I feel like if you want to do something and you do have the ambition for it and you are in love with what you do, nothing really can stop you. You will find a way always to succeed. So engineering right now is growing and it's limitless. That's the beauty of it. So you will always find a way. That's my advice.
But would there be, is there any other challenges there's always challenges, but after that for girls, let's say, is there a reason why it was known as a male dominant job? It's demanding.
Yes.
Okay, so a girl who wants to study that, she needs to know it's a demanding job.
Yes.
It's not nothing is easy, but it's not a walk in the park,
Exactly.
So what would you tell them? What to expect? Let's say when they want to find jobs, would they find good amount of jobs as a female engineering will they have? You said that when you had interviews, you didn't have anybody that like looked at you in a different way. Would people look at them different? Would they have to be or?
I feel like now the industries don't look at it that way. I feel like there's development. For sure, nothing is perfect anywhere, but I feel like it's better than before. So in the industry working at it, they don't view it anymore as, okay, there's a difference. Okay. No, they look at everyone as just a potential to help evolve.
Employee.
Exactly. Okay. And to help evolve the whole aspect of the team.
The whole aspect.
But they don't I feel like it doesn't, it's evolving. They're developing. With that, that's why now going through studying engineering gets better. Exactly. Because, for example, in my batch, as I mentioned, there was one class where we were like 5 girls. But later on, as the because there's younger batches under me as well, after me, they came after me. I did notice that there are more people.
There's a growth.
There's a growth. It's because they listened from us. Okay. So that's the thing. As long as you listen to other people's advices. So I do recall like one girl, she was just admitting to uni and she noticed that we were engineers and she simply came and asked. We don't know her, she doesn't know us, she just asked what do we expect, and we told her as long as you're aware, engineering is demanding. I feel like that's why it was male dominant, because it does take a lot of time and a lot of exactly.
I mean, when someone says engineer, to me immediately my mind goes to, and this could be all thinking like to someone on the site.
No, it's not.
You know, and that's, I think, goes to maybe a little bit to construction or civil engineering. Your work is part of consultancy more than that. But if a girl studies, let's say, civil engineering, is there, when you say demanding, is there a physical need for them to be like in the sites if it's a construction-based engineering?
That's the beauty of engineering. There isn't one specific aspect. So, for example, the construction this is the mindset that's viewed, that it's just like construction and you would always be inside. I'm office-based. I don't go to sites except when needed. So it's not the physical aspect of being inside. There's a huge potential. So it's not just going to construction. You can go through transportation. You can go for water. You can go for construction. There's huge aspects for it. There's also management that falls under civil engineering. So the disciplines within it are huge. They're not just that. Which is construction and building and being inside and the heat. There's more to it.
It's just a very shallow thinking or an old thinking.
It's that. It's that, and I've heard it. I had my fair share of hearing it as well. So I could have easily heard it and just stopped. No, I went and did my research. I saw what are the aspects. I asked my professors in uni, what do I expect from graduating? Is it going to be just that, or is there more? And the more you enter, the more you study and the more you search, you know that it's a huge aspect and there's a lot of things you can do, not specific to that one thing. It depends on your interest and how much you want to spend time with it.
What's your interest? I mean, what's your as an engineer, what's your ambition for, let's say, the next 4 or 5 years? I mean, where do engineers, first of all, in that ladder, where do they reach as an engineer? So right now you're a transport engineer. That leads you to what? Let's say 2, 3 years or 4 years.
You go through. You go with higher rankings. So you go for senior, then principal, and then a manager, director. So so the stairs you keep on climbing.
You keep on climbing.
Yes.
Okay. And what's the things that you learned, for instance, in your job? I mean, you're still 2 or 3 years in your job.
Yeah.
And I believe you started as a trainee.
Yeah,
I started an internship, I think.
Yes, I started as an intern.
Internship, okay.
And then I entered the graduate program, which a lot of companies are doing that.
For engineering specifically?
For actually, I knew it for engineering, and then I noticed it's for everything else.
Okay.
So, like even the batch that entered with me, the graduates, they weren't specific. So they weren't just graduate transport planners. No, there were also management. So it's very wide and. But of course, it falls under engineering consultancy for me. However, there is for other majors.
There is.
Yeah, there is. You can find them everywhere. I was also surprised when I knew. It's nice to know that it's growing. So we did learn the right way of doing things and what is expected. So they tell us what do we expect from, what are their expectations of us, and what is our expectation
Your expectation of them.
Yes, that we are in a learning curve. That's what's amazing. When a person first graduates from a uni, I didn't have the opportunity. I had the opportunity not to just dive in. I learned how to go through everything step by step and doing it correctly.
Okay.
So I had mentors. Like my manager was helping me develop. My mentor was helping me learn how does the whole company work. With that, having such, especially in the first 2 years after uni, because my mindset was at university and studying and exams. So when I go to a job, anyone would be scared, would be really terrified,
Absolutely.
and I was.
Absolutely.
But having people to teach you and having this idea that to show you the way is how do you work within this company and within everyone else, not specifically with your team, and not specifically with my manager or my colleague as well. No, with everyone else. Having that teaches you, so that teaches you how to become exactly.
Succeed.
And it was a 2-year program actually.
So you don't have any, let's say, thoughts or like regrets about studying this?
No, never.
You enjoy doing it?
Yes, I'm in love with it.
And was it the same when you started studying it? Did you love it? Did you know from the beginning that this is what you want? Or someone told you, hey, just go for engineering?
I was in architecture first.
Okay.
After like a year and a half, I just moved. And that's where I was lost. So when I first entered architectural engineering, it does fall under engineering as well. But for me, after like a year and a half, within it, I didn't like it.
You didn't like it?
I felt like it's not for me. I felt like I was interested, because we do take common courses because it's the first year and a half. I was more into the civil aspect. I was more interested. Yes. And even if I would lose my credit hours and my courses, I didn't care.
You didn't mind?
No, I didn't mind really, as long as I'm doing what I like. And now I'm glad I made that decision really. I'm happy with it.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Thanks.
All the best.
Thank you.